Aloha and good afternoon and welcome to This Is Now. State education officials announced a new timeline for reopening Lahaina schools impacted by the Maui wildfires.
In a press conference this morning, School Superintendent Keith Hayashi said that students will return to campus after the fall break starting October 16th.
Between now and until we reopen to staff and students, we'll be completing professional cleaning of all interior and exterior spaces and finalizing health and safety guidelines. We'll continue to offer a virtual learning option through our state distance learning program, and families may also continue to keep their students enrolled in schools in Central and South Maui.
Now, Hayashi says Thursday, October 5th will be the last day for Lahaina Luna High School students at their temporary campus, Kulani Hako'i High School. Fall break runs from October 9th through the 13th, and then on Monday, October 16th, students will return to Lahaina Luna High. Now, on October 17th, students will be welcomed back to Lahaina Intermediate, and because King Kamehameha III Elementary was destroyed in the fire, on Wednesday, October 18th, students from King Kamehameha III and Princess Nahi'enaena will be welcomed back to the Nahi'enaena campus. Now, that school will be the temporary site for King Kamehameha III students. Hayashi says those students will be relocated to a new site in the coming months that will be built in the mixed-use development project known as Pule Lehua. He said FEMA is fronting the cost of the $5 million temporary campus until a permanent school can be built.
And we have more posted on this story on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com, including a full list of dates there. We want to go ahead and give you a look at some other top stories. Yesterday, Lahaina families who have eagerly been awaiting the chance to go and see their property were escorted back. Our Chelsea Davis has that story.
A family who lives on Kaneau Road allowed me to go with them to see their home. They say it was a painful but important part of the healing process.
All right.
Tani Katsuyama holds on to her 84-year-old grandmother, Noreen Wells, as they walk through their Kaneau Road home. Every step is an agonizing reminder of everything they lost. Noreen built this home in 1968. 4 generations lived here.
It's unrecognizable. It's hard to process, I would say, I guess.
Tani was raised in this home, and she was planning on raising her 3 children here too. But now she says she doesn't think it's possible.
Right now it just looks weird. It looks like out of a horror movie.
Tani says they don't want to leave Hawaii, but they may have to.
You think with 2 really good incomes, my husband and I, we'd be able to buy a house and, you know, give my children what they deserve, what I had, you know, growing up here. We had a home with a yard and a neighborhood, and it's not possible, you know, because of how expensive homes are. Like, we were looking around a little bit, and it's like $1 million.
Her mother, who also grew up here, is heartbroken.
See, that's the part that, you know, it's gonna break our family apart.
Tani is a talented photographer who depends on tourists to make a living, but she says she's not ready to go back to work yet.
It's frustrating because we depend on them so much, and I don't see, they're planning on opening, you know, Lahaina on the 8th, and as much as like I need the income, none of us is ready to put on a smile and, you know, work for them when we're struggling. You know, we're still mourning, we're still grieving, and the expectation for us to put on a brave face and to be asked over and over and over again, did you lose your home in the fire? And then having to answer that.
Tani is calling on government officials to do better.
It's still hard to process. It's just, it should have been, you know, preventable. Like, this was all preventable.
If you would like to help Tawny and her family rebuild, find their story on HawaiiNewsNow.com. Reporting in Lahaina, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Now, our Casey Lund spoke with the head of Maui's Emergency Management Agency about how the first day went and what services and support are being offered to residents.
Yeah, we're just outside that first zone that reopened starting yesterday morning, Zone 1C. That is mostly along Kane'au Road. We're here at the intersection of Kane'au and Ainakea, right in front of the National Guard checkpoint, where some of those families were able to re-enter yesterday. We want to talk a little bit about that process and how it worked. And to do that, we're going to bring on Daryl Oliveira. He's the administrator for the Maui Emergency Management Agency. I want to ask you first how this has gone with some of those families. Obviously, a very heavy and emotional day. It seems like things went pretty smoothly yesterday, though.
Yes, as you said, yesterday was the first day. We had about 16 property owners come through with their families. So maybe about 40 people came through yesterday. Everything went safely. That was the good thing. And what was nice to see is for some of the neighbors coming together. They hadn't seen each other since the fire. So coming together and being supportive for one another, kind of group hug moment. But I think it definitely provided some closure for most of them. They tried looking for items, personal effects, but I think it was more just an opportunity for closure for most of them.
What do you want people to know about the timeline? I think you mentioned earlier that people have been very patient, but of course they're eager to get back. What do you want people to know as they wait to get back to their property?
Well, I think first and foremost, we learned some very valuable lessons yesterday with the reentry process. We got some good feedback from the families that came through, and our goal is to do a quick after-action review at the end of the day today and tomorrow, and start to kind of tweak our operations so we can open up more zones and bigger zones and move things on a lot faster. People are anxiously waiting, and we appreciate their patience, but we really want to move things along and open up more areas for the community.
And of course, make sure it's safe. Last question, Daryl, before I let you go. For those folks that are getting ready to get their passes as those zones open up, what do you wanted to know about doing that process over at the Civic Center? You kind of have to wait for your turn because, again, as you mentioned, a lot of people are eager, but we're doing it pretty step by step.
Right. So we hope to have a press release go out by tomorrow, notifying the community what are the next zones we will open, as well as, like I said, we want to go faster and bigger, and we will definitely announce the zones again before the end of the week. We're targeting more zones to open up beginning next week, Monday. And you can pick up your passes at the Civic Center, as well as we should be opening up some sites in central Maui, Wailuku area. We know that many residents relocated to that area, and it'd be difficult for them to come back out here to get their passes. But really, it's about us identifying the zones and asking people to be patient. We definitely want to get you back, but we're doing it in very safe, manageable areas, as well as what the EPA has cleared.
Very good. Daryl Oliveira with us from Maui County Emergency Management Agency. Again, we'll keep folks posted as they start to open up those zones, let you know when it's time to go back and get those passes. And as he mentioned, they'll be opening some different locations to get those. It would be a lot to come all the way back here to West Maui, especially, as Daryl mentioned, if you're staying in places like Wailuku. So we'll have more on that in the coming days and weeks. For now, we'll send things back into the studio.
Now to a story out of Hawaii Island, and a warning: it is graphic for some viewers. Hawaii County Police have released the body camera video from a chase that ended with a deadly shooting.
Outside! The police! We got you surrounded!
Officers came to a home in Kea'au Saturday afternoon looking for Ka'ena Ka'ohu. The 30-year-old had been on the run for nearly 14 hours after allegedly threatening to shoot his brother in Orchidland Estates the night before. Police say they told him to surrender, but he took off. 5 officers followed him into the woods. Police say the body camera video shows Ka'ohu turning and opening fire.
Put your hands up! You okay? You okay? You okay? I think I was hit. Officer down, officer. Where you hit? I don't know. Where you hit? I felt something. I don't know if it's a bullet. It might have been ricochet. I don't know.
Police say 4 of the officers shot back nearly 36 times, killing Ka'ohu. Amazingly, the bullet that officer felt actually hit the holster of his taser, and he walked away without any injuries.
Honolulu police arrested an 18-year-old man accused in the deadly shooting at the Waianae boat harbor on Saturday. Javen Lopez was taken into custody in Maui just before 6 last night by HPD's Crime Reduction Unit. Police say the victims, a 19-year-old man and a 29-year-old man, were fatally shot multiple times. They've been identified as Kalepua White and Devin Brannon Morris. A 21-year-old woman is also hospitalized. She was reported to be in critical condition. Lopez faces several charges, including murder, attempted murder, and gun crimes. HPD says Lopez was injured but is in stable condition and is now in custody. They say he is one of multiple suspects. Police have not said how many other suspects remain on the run, but the community is taking action to stem the recent violent incidents on the Leeward Coast.
When we see our elders out there, kapunas, no one's going to be disrespectful, because disrespecting a kapuna is disrespecting the whole family. So when we move with our kapunas in there, it's like having an army.
A memorial has been set up at the site of the shooting.
An Oahu pediatrician is accused of sex abuse and misconduct by 10 women, mothers of patients. He's the subject of a civil lawsuit by some of the women. Our chief investigative reporter Lynn Kawano has more.
The women tell me the pediatrician has been treating their kids for years, some since birth.
Pediatrician Dr. Gregory Yim, seen here in previous news interviews, is the subject of a growing civil lawsuit filed originally by 5 women. It's now up to 10, all mothers of his patients at Windward Pediatrics in Kaneohe. The women accuse him of sex abuse and misconduct. According to the court records, the doctor would offer to treat the mothers for weight loss.
So what he would say was, I can help you with that. Make an appointment at my office in town. He would diagnose them with ADD in spite of the fact that most of them didn't have it. He wouldn't run diagnostic testing. He wouldn't do any of the normal tests that a doctor would do in order to reach that diagnosis. He'd prescribe them with Adderall.
The court documents say because Adderall is a controlled substance, Yim required monthly visits for refills. It was during these visits, the lawsuit continues, he began to repeatedly sexually abuse and molest the women by performing unnecessary breast examinations on them.
Breast cancer is very scary. We all know somebody who's died of breast cancer. So to kind of use that as an in to this inappropriate touching and use that, prey upon that idea in our minds that we want to stay alive for our kids and our family is just terrible.
3 of the women named in the lawsuit did not want their faces on TV, but wanted others to know what happened.
He was both of my kids' pediatrician from birth. He's a trusted person in the community.
He built an immense amount of trust, not with just me, but with my children and my family. I trusted him so much that I referred a lot of people to him.
Was hard and shocking to believe that somebody that built a relationship upon this trust would do something like that.
What he did was not standard practice, that it was not routine.
Dr. Yim and the facilities he practiced at are included in the lawsuit. Yim was named as a top doctor by Honolulu Magazine in 2019 for his work in pediatric neurology. His attorney said in a statement, the allegations being made are disputed and the lawsuit will be defended. He declined further comment while the litigation continues.
No criminal charges were ever filed against Dr. Yim, just the civil lawsuit. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
The Biden administration plans to keep the refugee cap at 125,000 people next year. That's according to a draft report obtained by CNN. It proposes an increase in admissions from the Western Hemisphere and a decrease in admissions from Europe and Central Asia. According to the draft, the new cap would be 35,000 to 50,000 refugees from Latin America and the Caribbean. This year, it was set at 15,000. But according to federal data, only 5,500 refugees have been resettled in the U.S. The changes outlined in the draft would provide a legal avenue for migrants without having to journey to the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, the federal government will shut down at midnight on Saturday unless Congress passes a spending bill, but there doesn't appear to be any movement toward a deal to keep the lights on. Christian Benavides reports from Capitol Hill.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tried to pin the looming government shutdown on President Biden.
The president can really come down to this and make sure government stays open. All he has to do takes some action on the border to secure it.
But President Biden released a video saying it's the far-right Republicans that are calling the shots now, and he blames them for the inaction.
I'm prepared to do my part, but the Republicans in the House of Representatives refuse to stand up to the extremists in their party. So now everyone in America could be forced to pay the price.
The House will be in order.
McCarthy plans to bring 4 of the 12 appropriations bills to the House floor Tuesday evening. Far-right Republicans have blocked previous attempts to even begin debate on the bills.
I never give up.
Mr. Speaker, I know that, Mr. Speaker, you have the vote.
I've got a lot of things I can try.
The House bills are partisan packages that are favored by Republicans because they include deep spending cuts, but they're also non-starters in the Democratic-controlled Senate. The Senate is preparing to pass a short-term spending bill to temporarily avoid a shutdown. But the same far-right House members blocking votes on spending bills say they will not vote for any short-term continuing resolution. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, the looming government shutdown is raising questions over what will grind to a halt and what will continue. One thing that won't stop is the Social Security payments. The checks will keep coming if the federal government shuts down next week. The government says more than 66.7 million Americans were receiving Social Security checks as of August. The average monthly benefit was roughly $1,700. Social Security payments can continue because they are mandatory spending and the money comes from a trust fund. Disability payments will also continue to be sent out. Let's go ahead and send you live outside now to Hilo Bay. Some clouds off there in the distance, but no major rainmakers in our forecast. Coming up after this short break, Guy Hoggy will have a full look at your island weather.
Aloha on this Tuesday. We're still in the heart of hurricane season, so it's very, very good that we're very quiet here in the Central Pacific. In the East Pacific, we have no cyclonic activity, no tropical storms, no hurricanes expected anytime soon. We do have scattered showers, though. Very welcome, very appreciated, very much needed for those drought-stricken leeward areas, but most of the rain, as you can see, will favor those windward sides. But because the winds will be breezy today, some of those showers favoring the windward side will occasionally drift over to leeward sides every now and then, but we're not expecting a washout anytime soon. And we are expecting lots of afternoon sunshine. So high temperatures again getting into the upper 80s, and those winds topping out at 15 to 25 today. Now, as far as the surf, because of those winds, it's still going to be choppy over in the east side, but look for a little boost rolling into the north shore today. That's likely to happen late in the afternoon, and we still have a small southwest swell continuing to roll into some town spots. So we've got fair weather for the duration of the forecast. Windy today at 15 to 25, and the winds will basically hold firm going into the weekend. Lighter winds not expected back until early next week.
The Federal Trade Commission is suing internet giant Amazon. In a lawsuit filed Tuesday, the FTC accuses Amazon of using its market power to warp prices across the internet. The FTC alleges that the tech giant deters sellers from discounting goods below what is available on Amazon, pushing prices higher across the internet. It also argues that Amazon pushes sellers into its fulfillment services, making it more expensive for sellers to offer their goods elsewhere. Amazon responded to the lawsuit, writing in a statement that their practices have spurred competition and innovation, and saying they have brought consumers greater selection, lower prices, and faster delivery speeds. The FTC's antitrust lawsuit is backed by the Attorney General of 17 states, including 2 Republicans.
Well, President Biden joined auto workers on the picket lines in Michigan today, 12 days after they went on strike. The White House says this is the first time a sitting president has done this in modern times. Skylar Henry has more.
President Biden stood with striking auto workers on the picket lines in Michigan Tuesday, telling them they saved the auto industry back in 2008.
Gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well, too.
He was joined by United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain.
Thank you, Mr. President, for coming. Thank you for coming to stand up with us in our generation's defining moment.
The UAW has been on strike against Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis for 12 days now. Among other things, workers are seeking a 36% raise over 4 years, and they want to extend union protections to workers at 10 electric vehicle battery factories.
I'm helping to get these younger generation a good pay.
President Biden calls himself the most pro-union president ever. His trip comes one day before former president and 2024 GOP frontrunner Donald Trump is set to speak with auto workers himself in Michigan.
President Biden, Mr. Trump, either way, they have a right to come.
As the strike expands, the economic impacts are already being felt. Ford announced Monday it would pause work on a $3.5 billion electric vehicle plant in Michigan, and some automotive suppliers in the state are warning that layoffs may soon be necessary. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
All right, it is time to give you some good news now. And Ashley, do you plan on going to Las Vegas anytime soon?
Well, once Mav's a little older, yes, because
Yeah.
I love Vegas.
Well, there is a new site that you can check out.
I know, it's really cool.
Mary Jane Beleza's 8 News Now has an inside look.
Looks good. It fits well.
All eyes are on the Sphere for those walking the strip like Alex Hugh and Christian Lorenas.
We saw the Mortal Kombat ad on it yesterday, and I thought that was really cool.
Since its first display back in July, the Sphere has been putting on an eye-catching show with tourists and locals getting a front row seat to all the action.
The Sphere is really just the latest in a lineup of
architectural learning opportunities that we see just in our own backyard.
Glenn Nowak is the founder of UNLV's School of Architecture's Hospitality Design program, where students analyze structures on the Strip and envision new ways to make it better.
I'm excited to see some of my own students in the Master of Architecture program have played a role in things like the commissioning of the sphere, where they're as part of their internships or part-time practicum experience, they're looking at the building system performance.
According to MSG Entertainment, the 580,000 square foot exosphere is made up of LEDs, with each one being the size of a hockey puck.
We can actually see this building transform and impact people's emotions within seconds. And that's what's really fascinating, drawing people's attention.
Nowak says the sphere's architectural integrity is all thanks to a design team working with various consultants to not only ensure the outside is safe and intact, but the inside too.
So it's really a sphere within a sphere, and between those layers, lots of catwalks and the ability for service and maintenance to get in and around.
Nowak says traffic and future construction around the sphere will impact how future developers address those concerns as the city continues to build. Reporting on the Strip, Mary Jean Belieza, 8 News Now.
What do you think, Ashley?
Concerts in that thing, it's going to be a whole new experience.
Very cool indeed. We're going to end today with a live look out at the Oakland-San Francisco Bay Bridge. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Aloha.